Let's talk about the magnificent sevens. Let's ask the question, how is it England have come to have as many amazing options to wear the seven jersey to play open side flanker as they currently have, to the point where they're fitting them in anywhere they can in a team? It's really quite astounding, especially, as I will, when you look back just a few years to what the options were then. I'll go so far as to say, and please tell me if you disagree with this, I think England's stocks at open side flanker are up there with France's options at scrum half when you think of Dupont and Luku, Le Garrec, Saran, Quiyu, Jonot. Amazing options. With South Africa at tight head prop, Franz Malherbe and Thomas de Toy, Wilco Low, Vincent Koch, Neithling Fouchier, Trevor Kane, and Klaba Kanye as well. I mean, unbelievable options. I can explain why it is South Africa have got all the tight head props you could possibly want. They love the scrum. They eat. I've witnessed firsthand, they eat a lot of meat in that country. There are some very, very large men. That makes sense. France's scrum halves makes sense because they are le petit général in the team. They are the playmaking heartbeat. They're the fulcrum of a team. So a lot of the nines also play 10. They're just incredibly skillful players. England at seven, well, that's a little bit more curious. And hey, tell me what you think in the comments down below. Firstly, tell me if you think that it's fair to compare England's stocks at open side flanker to South Africa's options at tight head prop. But when you just look back not so far, I mean, less than a decade, when Eddie Jones came to the helm and took the England job, he was playing Chris Robshaw and James Haskell as the famously dubbed six and a halves. Eddie Jones came out and said, we have a lack of genuine open side flank options. And one of the first things he did within his first month of being England head coach is he got all the age group coaches together and said, is there anyone that should be on my radar? Because we've got a big problem at seven. And I mean, he even went so far as to say Jack Noel could end up playing seven. By the way, I made a little note actually of what Eddie Jones said in this interview back in, this would have been like 2016, 2017. He said, there are great opportunities in the game to change it, and we are looking at the opportunities. Maybe one of those opportunities is 9 forwards. I remember journalists, fans laughing at Eddie Jones for saying that. I think I might have had a chuckle at it, and it just goes to show he may get some things wrong, but Eddie Jones knows what he's talking about. He was 100% right. Look at Ben Earl now. Look at Oscar Jegu for France. He was ahead of the curve there. Maybe not Jack Noel, but in any case, England didn't need to worry about converting someone to flanker because they had plenty coming through. But at the time, if you remember, England didn't have any. And you look around the world and just across the border in Wales, they had sevens coming out of their ears and they were playing Sam Warburton and Justin Tipperick together in the same back row. The famed Pooper combo, David Pocock, Michael Hooper, were absolutely wrecking teams' breakdowns when they were wearing the green and gold of Australia. Eddie Jones, again, in his mission to try and unearth the next generation of these players, he gave a debut to the Curry twins when they were 18 years of age, took them on the summer tour to Argentina. I think Ben Curry was going to be starting, but then got injured. So Tom Curry ended up starting and got man of the match in that game, and then went on to do all of the incredible things that Tom Curry has gone on to do. So again, kind of Eddie Jones, give him his dues. He knew what he was talking about, but it just so happened that at the same time that Tom Curry was coming through, and Ben Curry, obviously, there was a lot of other fantastic players. What's interesting is to delve into why that is and how England have ended up with the stocks they have. Part of it is that, as I say, when he came in, Eddie Jones made it a priority for coaches to develop this kind of player. But there was obviously something in the water going on because, well, Eddie Jones went on and he had Sam Underhill, who was coming through just a year or two ahead of Tom Curry. And the two of them were two sevens that played together as the Kamikaze Kids. And then look at the options that England now have in the open side position. Jacques Willis, talented Frenchman, could end up playing for England again one day, I've heard. Maybe. He's 28 years of age now, so into his prime years right now. You've obviously got the Curry twins, the incumbents, wore the 6 and 7 jersey the last time England played in that win against Wales. Ben Earl, the Currys and Ben Earl are 26, and they all played together 6, 7, 8 in the England under-18 team back when Eddie Jones was just taking over as England, and all 3 sevens were in England's back row again at the top level. So they're not even at their prime years yet, you would hope. Sam Underhill, the forgotten man, he wasn't only a few months ago, he was looking like he was going to be a British and Irish Lions cert, an absolute guaranteed selection for England. He got injured and he's waiting in the wings now, but what a player. Henry Pollock is 20 and looks to the manner born. What a talent. And then other guys that have worn the rose for England in recent years, Tom Pearson, he's 25. Will Evans, one of the people that Eddie Jones called into the senior England squad when he first arrived because he wanted a 7 to develop. Will Evans has been fantastic for Harlequins. Can't get a look in on the international stage. Jack Kenningham was in the England A team a few weeks back. He's 25. You've got Guy Pepper, looks like an absolute superstar in the making. He's 21. Miles Reed, his Bath teammate, is 26. The eldest of all of them, Lewis Ludlow, is 30 and has played for England and is an absolute class player, as is Fitz Harding, who's 25. And he might be someone that I'm looking at taking on the summer tour if I were Steve Borthwick this summer. So those, I mean, how many have I just named? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people I've just named. 13 players that many other countries would happily take one. I mean, I reckon, forget about project players and stuff. I reckon we should get into some like horse trading. Steve Borthwick should pick up the phone to Rassi Erasmus and go, I'll tell you what, I want a tight head prop. I'll take Thomas Dutoy and I will give you, in fact, there you go, there's a question. How many open side flankers would you cough up for Thomas Dutoy? I think I'll give 3 or 4 very, very good ones. With the amount of stocks England have got, maybe 4 or 5. Because props, we don't have that many of. And that's what's really interesting, isn't it? Like, England have got all these 7s coming out of their ears to the point that we're playing 3 of them in the back row and we're sometimes putting one in the centre, but tight head prop is an issue for England. Will Stewart's made that a bit better, but and England, I think, do have some good young players coming through. Afolabi for Sogbon, for example, Asher Opoku for Jaw. But we don't have loads of stacked depth there like we do at 7 and 12. England are desperate to see some 12s. And I imagine what's going to happen, if you think back, what's the life cycle now? So Eddie Jones came in 2016, 17, 18. That was his first few years. And now, 7, 8 years later, we are seeing England with 7s everywhere. 2019, England lose a World Cup final because their scrum got taken apart by the Springboks. 2019, we are 6 years on from that. And in the next 2-3 years, we're probably going to end up with England having 10 really, really good tight head props, young ones coming through in the way that the 7s have developed. And I imagine give it another few years, maybe another 5 years from now, and England will have no lack of 12s, but there'll be some other hole. It's like stopping water coming in from a boat. You put your finger in one hole and then water starts to come in from another one. It's just the way it goes. But England at the moment have got ridiculous depth. I've picked my top 7 sevens. Tell me if you agree with that. My top 7 sevens, I think Jack Willis is the best of the lot. Tom Curry from Ben Earl and Ben Curry. I mean, all 4 of those, in fact, 5 of them, Sam Underhill. That top 5, I think most countries on earth would happily pick any of those players in their starting 15. And in most cases, they'd get in. In the vast majority of countries, they would get in the back row, or at least into the matchday squad, into the squad more broadly. 5 of them. England are not blessed with world-class players in lots of positions. But in this position, there's absolutely loads. The hardest one to pick, actually, was the number 7, because there's so many good ones. I just went for Tom Pearson. I'd love to know what yours are. More interestingly, why is it that England have ended up with all these magnificent 7s? I think it probably is part of the life cycle of rugby. As I say, partly it's that Eddie Jones identified a problem and coaches went away and tried to fix that problem. And now we're seeing the fruits of that. And I also think it's down to the laws of the game. I did a video earlier about the style of rugby in the Premiership and how it's got a lot looser, a lot faster. I think a big part of that is the push by World Rugby for laws which encourage ball in play time, and we're seeing a general trend towards attacking rugby. There's a lot more teams that are taking a lot more risks. When you look at the top 14, the shift is gone towards attack. It's the same in URC. It's the same in the Premiership. And it is the same. It's happening slower, but it's happening in the international game as well. And I think with that comes more necessity to secure your own quick ball, for which these guys become quite useful, and more necessity to try and slow down the opposition ball, which is where these guys earn their corn. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? I might have to revisit that. Other positions, just to finish, other positions where countries are especially stacked. So France, it's scrum half. South Africa, prop. Although just the whole pack in general, to be honest. Fijian wingers? I don't know, is that a bit obvious? Yeah, are there any others? What other countries are particularly stacked in certain positions? Let me know. And let me know why it is England have got so many sevens. What's your thought? And I will see you on the next video. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Most importantly, though, leave your comment down below.